First contact. Tuesday, January 28, 1975 2:34 p.m. First, introductory conversation. Verbatim reproduction as far as remembered. This is the first contact with Semjase. For more info visit http://us.figo.org.
You are a fearless man.
I have learned to overcome fear and become objective.
I know, we have been studying you for years.
That's nice, and why?
Because through you, we want to clarify some things.
Is anyone else not suited for this purpose?
Certainly, however, we have kept an eye on you, because you have been preoccupied with these problems for thousands of years within other personalities, and because you think and act in a real and honest way. You have already frequently carried out such a mission in your former lives. However, for us, great mysteries surround the details.
Thanks for the flowers. German colloquialism for compliments.
Do not mention it, because you have earned it on your own merit.
Fine, but who are you, really?
Just call me Du.
Informal German you.
As I also do with you.
As you wish, but who are you?
I am called Semjase, and I come from the Pleiades.
From the 7 stars, the 7 sisters?
Certainly.
Quite an excursion, I must say, and how did you manage this? Perhaps through hyperspace?
Your knowledge is often greater than we might like.
Why? I can keep quiet, and am not a blabbermouth.
I am aware that you will remain silent if we request it, and for this reason, your knowledge is in the right place, therefore, I and the others are not worried about this.
Why have you obstructed my way to your ship? Is it because of the film in my camera? Would it have been destroyed?
Exactly, we want you to at least have the photographic evidence.
I see, so I will go public, but how may I arrange this?
Later, I will explain the way.
I understand, but is it not somewhat dangerous to leave your ship on the ground so openly, in case others pass by?
Do not worry, for I have seen to it, that nobody can come closer than a 500-meter radius, and also, the spaceship is visually protected by the forest and hills.
Then I will be the only one included in this meeting?
Yes, and you know why.
I understand, unfortunately.
Although you may not like it, the situation cannot be changed, not now or in the future.
I understand. My dear fellowman.
Certainly, their spiritual and consciousness-related thoughts follow many wrong paths. However, you have made an effort to learn, and have already found the truth many thousands, indeed millions of years ago within other personalities, and have assimilated great wisdom and knowledge. This is why you stand out from the great masses of people on Earth, and this is our reason for choosing you.
You always say we, does this mean?
Certainly, I already mentioned that you often know more than we would like. Please keep quiet about this until the proper time, because life is difficult enough for the people on Earth as it is.
I have never possessed this knowledge, and consequently, I cannot say anything about it.
You could word it that way, and I know you will keep it to yourself. I also know you would even deny the whole event and call it fantasy, if anyone ever tried to force you to speak.
You really know me thoroughly.
Because of this and many other reasons, we have selected you. However, now enough questions, listen very carefully to what I have to say. You will write down everything and tell the public about it, however, in a different manner than how you carried out your mission in previous lives.
How may I do that, when I have nothing here to write with? I also do not have a tape recorder or anything like it.
Do not worry about this, for you will write it down later. First, I will explain everything to you, so you have an overview. Besides, it is easier for me to contact you later, when I will transmit the thoughts to you, so you may write everything down word for word very precisely.
Are you thinking of the same contact method, by which you brought me here?
You are really very knowledgeable, and are very important to us.
Thank you.
All right, now please listen, and only interrupt me if you really do not understand something.
Semjase's explanations.
For some time now, we have had the urge to contact someone on Earth who sincerely wants to help us in our mission. We have often tried to do this before, however, the selected people were neither knowledgeable nor willing enough, and often lacked sincerity and loyalty as well. Also, those we have selected for our endeavors were often afraid, and remained silent. They believed they would be accused of being insane, or of lying, and that attempts to harm them would be made through official and foolish intrigues. Many boastful men and women have appeared, who often claim to have contact with us, and even to have flown in our spaceships. However, nearly all of them are nothing but charlatans and frauds, who cover themselves in dubious glory, and only want to profit from it. The people on Earth have entire organizations, which preoccupy themselves with the reconnaissance of our spaceships. However, they possess very few truly authentic items. They are in possession of many photographs, which depict nothing more than lights, images of natural origin, or quite intentional falsifications. Only very few of these photographs are authentic, and actually show our spaceships. Most photographs are only montages or photographic forgeries, manufactured by frauds and charlatans, some of whose names have since become famous worldwide. Their subsequent books and written works only demonstrate deceit, for purposes of showing off or of charlatanry. By the same token, many people have the audacity to associate us with religions of the earth. We have nothing to do with any religion, nor do we ever want to have anything to do with them. Not even your so-called sectarians refrain from this step, confusing their friends and family with religious beliefs. These infamous and primitive machinations should be stopped, before everyone on Earth falls into their grip. Were these frauds and charlatans really linked and also in contact with us, or had they been, we would have offered them an opportunity to obtain very clear photographs of our spaceships. However, because they are dishonest and insane people, we will never give them this chance, nor will we be in contact with them. As evidence to this fact, we have already given you the opportunity to take sharp pictures of one of our spaceships. In addition, we will give you other opportunities to obtain even more photographic evidence. The people on Earth call us extraterrestrials or star people, or whatever they feel like. They call us supernatural, and they do not know us in the least. In reality, we are people. Men and women like the people on Earth. However, our wisdom and knowledge are far superior than theirs, also in technical respects. The people on Earth have taken their first very small steps toward cosmic space flight. However, this means nothing more than the first, still primitive attempts. Although their spaceships have reached the moon with rockets, the people on Earth have not yet reached cosmic space. In their current form, their spaceships would never be able to reach it. For this, a propulsion system capable of penetrating hyperspace and nullifying the immense distances is necessary. Space and time are not conquered by much space and time, but by spacelessness and timelessness, which means that space and time collapse within themselves and become unidirectional null time. In this way, mere fractions of a second suffice for the passage through millions of light years, with nearly zero time loss, because null time nearly paralyzes space and time. Many frauds and charlatans claim to be in contact with people of other planets within the Sol system, and even to have flown in their spaceships. This is nothing but a lie, for most of the planets they mention, and their moons, are so desolate that no forms of life will ever live there. Other planets, on the other hand, have long since ceased to support life, or else they are in the early stages of development. However, many other star systems harbor a number of various life forms, not only intelligent men and women. The forms of life are extremely diverse. People as well as animals. Many fauna or even floral life forms have also reached highly advanced levels of existence. There are many men and women that have acquired much knowledge, have freed themselves from their environment, and travel through space, while also occasionally coming to Earth. Many of them are rather unpleasant people, and live in a certain barbarism that frequently is nearly as bad as the people on Earth. Therefore, the people on Earth must be on their guard for them, because they often attack and destroy everything that gets in their way. Often they have destroyed entire planets, or have forced the people into barbaric slavery. This is one of our tasks. To warn the people on earth of these threats. Spread the news about this, because the time is approaching, when a conflict with these degenerate men and women will become unavoidable. An additional task is aimed at the sects and religions, along with the related spiritual underdevelopment of the people on earth. Throughout a universe there is only one consciousness, which generates a universe through the concentration of thought energy into particles of matter. It is called creation, which utilizes the laws of nature in generating a universe, laws that have eternal validity. The people on earth are able to identify the laws of creation in nature, if they make the effort. They show them the way of life, and the path to spiritual and consciousness-related development of all aspects related to the consciousness greatness, which embodies the goal of life. When the people on earth indulge in their religions, which are malicious and confusing teachings, their consciousness wastes away more and more, and ultimately leads to a bottomless pit. The people on earth will, out of necessity, recognize that a God will never take on the role of creation, or decide over other people's determinations. A God is only a governor, as well as a man or woman, who powerfully or dictatorially reigns over their descendants. They are not creation, but only one of its creatures like all people, who are fragments of creation itself. However, the people on earth follow their illogical religious beliefs, and claim that a God is creation itself. They go even further and claim that a normal man called Emmanuel, who has also been called Jesus Christ through deliberate malicious intrigues, is a God's son and creation itself. There are various New Age sectarians who go further still, and often assert many delusional things. However, as I have already mentioned, many frauds and charlatans follow in the same direction. Quite clearly, they put out the light to the world that we, or our brothers and sisters from other regions of reality, are coming as angels and the like, upon direction from God, whereby they mean creation to bring the people on earth long-desired peace, the truth of religion, and God's protection and commands. This is nothing more than a well-planned lie, by sectarians, frauds and charlatans. We have never proceeded by such orders, and we also will never do such. Creation itself never gives commands, because it embodies the greatest power of a universe. Religion is only a primitive machination developed by malicious and ignorant people, in order to command, suppress and exploit others, to which only people ignorant of the truth succumb. To bring this fact to the world, and make it known to the people on earth. This is an additional part of our task. If this does not happen, the people on earth will slowly destroy themselves, and fall into complete ignorance and insanity. We know you are aware of a secret old text, whose originals were, unfortunately, destroyed through the carelessness of our commissary, who was also your friend, and regrettably, failed due to his fear. Disseminate the translation of this text, for it is the only truly authentic one, and contains no adulterations. We know you are writing a book regarding this text, and about the actual truth. To us, this seems to be the most important book ever written by anyone on earth. However, it is harsh in its language, and therefore, will be met with animosity. It finally offers the truth to the people on earth, however, it still contains some speculation. It may finally destroy the insanity of religion within many people on earth, or cause them to at least seriously question these matters. It is an extraordinarily beautiful and useful piece of work, and you should make it available to the people on earth. For now I have told you all that is necessary, however, it is not enough. Many additional contacts will follow this initial one, and I will call you at a given point in time. However, by means of thought transmission, which you call telepathy, I will get in contact with you, and transmit further information. Do not worry, I will do this at an inappropriate time, and only when it suits you. I appreciate your ways, as well as your sense of independence, and therefore, I will adjust myself to you at all times. The time will come for you, when we will meet in my spaceship, where you will undertake flights into deep space with me. However, for the time being, this is not possible, because it would be careless, due to certain regrettable incidents. I will inform you of this in detail at a later time. Therefore, take care until next time, when I will transmit additional important information to you. In general, our conversations will not be as one-sided as today, because I had to give you explanations only. From here on, every conversation will be quite normal, as is customary with questions and answers. Goodbye, until later.
Bye. Second contact. Monday, February 3, 1975, 10:10 p.m.
You astonished me after my first try, because your receptivity of my thoughts was much greater than we had calculated. We really should be used to surprises from you, for you have always shown over the years that you think very far. Although your thought processes are often extreme, they do often get to the point of the matter, and find solutions to problems that remain hidden from others. Actually, you surprised me on my first visit when you remained silent, and did not ask any questions when I gave you my various explanations. I am thinking about the discussion on space, time and null time. At least there I thought you would have a question. Then I took the liberty to explore your thoughts, and found that you really had no questions, because you understood my clarification, even more than what I said to you. Even for me, your way of thinking in spiritual and material things is enormous and phenomenal, which I have never before experienced in any other man or woman on earth. Until now, all of them were knowledgeable and capable of thinking only in one direction, or three maximum, while you are capable of thinking in any form you wish. You really do not lag behind us at all, if we disregard what you call book or school learning. As you yourself always say, this type of knowledge is not of great importance, but only spiritual wisdom and knowledge are the decisive ones, as you have already recognized long ago. You are truly eminent in your spiritual knowledge, and you do not lag behind us in this respect. Quite the contrary.
You are embarrassing me, Semjase. Everything seems to be praise and flattery today. I do not like this, because it seems primitive to me. So please drop it.
You are very honest, as we are used to from you. However, I do not want to praise and flatter you, for we have long ago passed that stage as well. I am only giving you clear, factual statements, just as you yourself enjoy making.
Then I am content and at peace.
So you no longer think I am primitive?
Certainly not, however, why do you not search for it in my thoughts? Or should I perhaps apologize for saying this?
I do think your word is true, and therefore, do not expect an apology from you. Apologies are only empty words and seldom represent the real sentiments behind them. On the other hand, I do not perceive your words as an offense, because I know very well that you only say what you sensed or feel. To other people your words may sound offensive, however, only because they do not know and understand that you are speaking only from your feelings, guided by your own wisdom and knowledge. Because of this, many things must also seem very primitive, even stupid, to you. However, always keep in mind that the majority of other people on earth are currently incapable of thinking and acting in a spiritual manner, because they have never learned how to do this. They are still too much entangled in the web of purely material urges, wishes and hopes, among other things. Also, if I want to investigate your thoughts, then I do it only if it appears important to me. It is neither our ways nor our desire to simply penetrate the thoughts of others, unless it is determined to be of importance. Besides, nobody has the right to penetrate into the private secrets of others. If someone penetrates the thoughts of another, the danger always exists of discovering more than was actually intended. If we were to ignore this fact, we would be able to decipher even your most intimate thought processes and secrets, and you could not amaze and astonish us again and again.
What about this claim by so-called UFO contactees, who say their friends from the stars only communicate telepathically amongst themselves?
Certainly there are such people, who communicate only telepathically. However, their method of communication was telepathic from the very beginning, or else, they simply allowed their spoken language to become neglected. However, as far as we know, no people who communicate only telepathically have ever come to the planet Earth. On the other hand, it must be noted that these so-called UFO contactees who claim such things, with certainty, have never had contact with advanced men and women from other star systems. They are simply frauds and charlatans.
I have been thinking about the notion that most of these so-called UFO contactees are only frauds and charlatans. With what evidence do you base these claims?
On pure facts that may be proven anytime. Most of the would-be contactees often imply that we are on a mission from God for the Christian religion. A malicious lie without a trace of truth.
What about the other contactees?
Although many frauds exist, there are many people on Earth who really have had, and continue to have, contact with us. However, most of them have never had more than just visual contact. Therefore, I speak of contactees who have only seen our spaceships from a distance, and were often able to take pictures as well. Only very few of them have had actual contact with us, physical or telepathic, which is the case even now. Most of them wrap themselves in silence, due to their fear of other people on Earth. Frequently, people from other lineages have also come to the Earth, and have carried out their expeditions here. They gathered various things, which are of service to their investigations. And it will always happen time and again, that such people come here and perform their studies. They come from the most diverse habitable planets and star systems. They are often still new to space travel, and perform their expeditions to expand their knowledge and understanding. It also happens occasionally, that they unintentionally come into physical contact with the people on Earth, but never return again. They are not power-hungry and the like, because they are glad to finally have peace on their own planets. It also happens here and there, that they overpower some people on Earth, bring them into their spaceships, examine them carefully with their instruments, and conduct a most detailed study of their anatomy. However, without exception, they always let these people go again, for they do not wish to harm them. They are often much kinder than the people on Earth. Unfortunately, however, there are also some rather barbaric people traveling through deep space, who come to the planet Earth here and there. Many among them are power-hungry and malicious men and women. It may happen that they kidnap and abduct a few people on Earth, as well as from planets and other star systems, and bring them to their home planets. These unfortunate men and women then lead a life there, as objects of exhibition, or are used for experiments. The people on Earth, and also people of other habitable planets, must be wary of these men and women, for in their viciousness, they often use great force. Sympathy and other traits and sentiments are often foreign to them, therefore, someone's life is of little value to these barbaric men and women.
That is all very interesting, Semjase, but somehow I have known this for a long time already.
Surely, I know you think very far.
Well, okay, now please tell me one thing. You already have spoken several times of frauds and charlatans, who have gone public with their fantastic UFO contact stories, and continue to do so. May you give me some names?
Absolutely, however, you know many of them by name already.
Nevertheless, please give me at least a few.
As you wish. With whom should I begin?
First of all, I would be interested to know about Kenneth Arnold. Am I correct that he was not a fraud?
Certainly, this man was no fraud, for he really had seen our spaceships. Many other pilots have encountered our spaceships, or foreign ones as well. The greatest fraud, however, was the man called Karl Michalek. And on the same dishonest level, was the man who became world famous by the name of George Adamski. His so-called colleagues and friends belong in the same category as well. By this I mean those around him, who claim to have had contact with us. Other names are lesser known, but are of a certain importance because they are frauds: Harushi Tsukamoto, Gerald Baker, R. O. Schmidt, C. A. Anderson, Angelucci, and many, many more.
Thank you, that is already enough. Are they really all frauds?
Absolutely, and you know this as well as I do.
You are right, but how can anyone prove they are frauds?
We could prove it, however, you should not attempt this, because the people on Earth are very difficult to convince of the truth. Their consciousness-related intelligence is currently too limited for this. One day, they will discover the truth by themselves, and only then will they have it as their own knowledge. At present, the people who are the least agreeable to recognize and disseminate the truth will be those who have allowed themselves to be deceived by frauds and charlatans for decades, and who have sacrificed millions for the dissemination of the deceitful stories and books. Their world would collapse, for they would have to acknowledge having been deceived, and lose face in front of everyone.
It sounds logical, but how should I deal with it? They will not believe me when I reveal the truth.
Do not be concerned, because you belong to a circle of people who think logically and will help you. I will give you the names of those who will be important to you, however, keep them to yourself, and never reveal them publicly.
7 names and addresses were then given. Are these names sufficient?
They are, and now my time is up for today. I must leave you now, and will transmit this conversation to you later, as it is already becoming a habit, so you can record it.
Third contact. Saturday, February 8, 1975, 3:03 a.m.
You have finished your book. It is a grand work. Even if it is written somewhat harshly, it corresponds to the right tone, in order to make it understandable. You simply could not write it any other way.
I think so too, however, I have concerns that it will be turned down.
Your concerns are groundless, because the people will sit up and take notice, and your work will be printed.
I hope so, and would be delighted about that. However, something else interests me besides my book.
Then ask.
Since our last meeting, I have occupied myself a great deal with so-called UFO literature. I have found that you star people, if I may call you that, are always described as supernatural, heavenly beautiful, as guardians of other men and women, nearly as omniscient, and as teachers. Therefore, it is claimed that you are living in spiritual and consciousness-related perfection. My reasoning and impressions suggest something completely different in this respect, and I cannot help but conclude this to be a malicious lie, which likely sprang from illogical people, or originated from men and women that are not free, and brand fantasies as reality, because they cannot deal with the actual truth, and therefore, flee into a fantasy world of their imagination. The truth seems too harsh for them, and they resort to delusional fantasies, expecting help from them. These people never want to bear the responsibility for anything, and therefore, perhaps because they are too ignorant and cowardly, they simply shift it to something that is said to exist above them, and is to guide their fate. This something they call God and religion, which is simply a buffer and battering ram, into which they pound everything, a fantasy picture to which they may shift all of their own responsibility.
You are engrossed in very profound thoughts, and they are consistent with the absolute truth. It is really as you say. Many people on earth are incapable of bearing their own responsibility and comprehension, however, they must do so. Therefore, they shift everything to something that they, in their fantasy, place above themselves, things they call belief in God, which relieves them of all responsibility. When frauds name and describe us in the manner you have just described, it is nothing more than an infamous lie originating from the minds of people who are poor in wisdom and knowledge, and who imagine a better life in their fantasy. They often do this, because they still cannot obtain it themselves, at least not at the present time, and therefore, simply attribute it to us, and turn us into something perfect. However, we are still very far from perfection, and must continue to develop ourselves constantly. We are not the so-called Superman or super beings that people on earth often call us, due to their own ignorance, and from within their imagination. We are also not preachers, missionaries or trailblazers. We only have the dutiful task to preserve the evolving and already living lineages of people on earth. This means that we endeavor to keep order, and monitor certain people. We occasionally generate contacts with the people on earth, if our directives allow us, single out some of them, and provide them with explanations, however, only if they are developing towards a higher level, and slowly start thinking logically. Then we slowly familiarize them with the thought that they are not the only thinking men and women in the universe. Occasionally we also assist telepathically, in order to instill certain thoughts towards the discovery of technical inventions, which are needed at that time.
Why do your people not appear and show yourselves to the broad public? and why do you not get in touch with the various governments?
Without exception, all governments on Earth consist of people who are exceedingly greedy for power and gain. Under a smokescreen of peace and friendship, they would only want to seize our spaceships, in order to completely tyrannize the Earth with them. Additionally, they would attempt to conquer deep space, because they know no bounds. They are not even capable of creating lasting peace and friendship among other countries, let alone among their people. How then would they be capable of handling such powerful devices as our spaceships, and the many technical fittings on board? There is no interest in showing ourselves to the public. Their comprehension is still short, small and limited, due to religious enslavement. In their limited reasoning, the people on Earth would venerate us as gods, just as they have in former times. On the other hand, many people among them, criminal and power-hungry men and women, would also attempt to gain possession of our spaceships. However, let us also not forget all those, and there are countless millions, who would fall prey to complete hysteria and impairment of their reasoning and logic. For these reasons, it is best to cultivate contacts with only a few select men and women on Earth for the time being, and through them, to slowly impart the knowledge of our existence and tasks, and prepare them for the things to come. We are neither guardians nor overseers of the people on Earth. We feel obligated to them only because our ancient forefathers were their forefathers, prior to their escape from their original home planet, due to self-induced catastrophes by a few power-hungry men and women, before escaping to the Pleiades, exactly as you have deduced and calculated in the last few decades, according to your knowledge. Only a few events occurred somewhat differently than you have surmised. By and large, you have learned the crux and the majority of the story, and are the first man on Earth to have found the corresponding truth.
My calculations are correct then?
Certainly, but I will give you more extensive information about this some other time.
Also about Emmanuel?
Certainly you will receive explanations about Atlantis and Mu. However, regarding Emmanuel you are already informed. You know of Judas Iscariot's text, which corresponds to the truth. Therefore, I do not need to explain any more about that.
But something interests me, Semjase. It is often written that the star people can grow very old, even millions of years. Is this correct?
Do you think this sounds logical?
No, it seems unlikely. I can only think this, because if someone of about 70 billion years exists, they cannot be considered strictly material any longer, but some kind of spiritual embodiment.
You are right in that also. A man or woman may become hundreds or even thousands of years old when they have reached a certain spiritual and consciousness-related state of relative perfection, and a correspondingly high and sound way of living. However, after this state is reached and held for about 40 to 60 million years of incarnations, their spirit no longer requires a purely material body and becomes a half-spirit body. They then live only in half-material form for an additional 60 to 80 billion years, and in such lofty spheres, even we can no longer communicate with them from the purely physical level, except when there is someone with a very high consciousness-related and spiritual level of evolution. After 60 to 80 billion years, the half-spirit men and women, the half-physical people respectively, transforms themselves into the first pure spirit existence, and enters the level of Arahat Ather Set Ah.
I see. May I still ask you one more question, or even two?
Just ask.
Surely, you are aware that our dear little ladies on Earth keep their age a secret, and they smear their lips, face, fingers and toenails with powder and colors. What is your opinion of this?
Certainly. By their actions, they are deceiving themselves. From my view, I find makeup disgusting, as well as all forms of painting the body, or the nails of fingers and toes.
This is my opinion also, yet how is it with you and your people? Do they also live with such a delusion?
Certainly not.
Well then, may I ask how old you actually are?
Of course, what do you guess?
I am not experienced in guessing people of your lineage, however, according to my measures, you should be about 32 or 33 years old.
You know your stuff, for this would really be my age by the standards on Earth, judging from my looks. What you do not know, however, is that our average life expectancy is very high, and amounts to several hundreds of years, that is, about 1,000 years. Judging from that, I am still very young at 330 years, which corresponds to about 33 years by your standards.
What do you mean by my standards? If you had only told me your average age before, I might have assessed you differently. How was I to know this, for I cannot know everything?
Never mind, it was really my mistake. However, now I must go again, and so I bid you farewell.
Fourth contact. Saturday, February 15, 1975, 1:48 a.m.
In the last few days, I have received many powerful thoughts from you. You occupy yourself enormously with the most diverse things, however, for your own safety, I am not allowed to answer all of your questions.
Did you not tell me that you would not penetrate my thoughts, except for some urgent need?
Certainly. I did not delve into your thoughts, you have merely directed yours so intensely towards me, that I simply received them. You have a phenomenal thinking power, which only very few people on earth currently possess.
I had not considered this, I did not intend to bother you.
Not a problem at all, because in this way, I could occupy myself with your questions, which I am not allowed to answer as detailed as I would like. I and everyone else trusts you fully, however, there do exist some people on earth, who possess various means of power, and therefore, could coerce every secret from you. I know very well, that you would fight against this, however, they could coerce some things from you nevertheless. Therefore, we must take great care and precaution in every way. However, now do ask your questions at your discretion, because I simply cannot, nor do I want to, dictatorially respond, thereby making your line of questions my own.
Thank you, Semjase. You speak perfect German, where did you learn to master this language?
A good question that is easy to answer. Just like the people on earth, we also must learn a language. However, this is much easier for us, and therefore, presents less effort. We possess every language that has ever been spoken on earth, in ancient times and in the present. That is to say, we have detailed recordings of them in the most diverse formats. Language training courses, as you would call them, have been compiled from these recordings. This work is performed by language scientists and machines, similar to what you call computers. Further machines of a similar type serve to transmit the desired language, and therefore, instill it within us. This means we are connected to such a machine or apparatus, which then transmits the desired language telepathically. This occurs during a machine-induced, hypnotic-like state. In this way, the definitions and meanings of the language become implanted and registered. This process takes approximately 21 days. Then we require another 9-10 days, in order to also speak the language correctly. This means we must practice its correct application and pronunciation, with the help of various machines and language scientists. In this manner, it takes us about 30 to 31 days to learn a new language. The people on earth are already operating in a similar fashion, by using tape recorders in their language courses, particularly at so-called language institutes. This is already the first step towards constructing and using apparatuses and machines similar to ours. In various places on earth, much work is being done on such devices.
That is about how I envisioned it.
I know.
My next question refers to what you have already explained during that is, our first meeting. That the people on Earth will never be capable of traveling into deep space, unless they invent another method of propulsion. I can only imagine what you mean with the term propulsion, that it must involve a form of beam drive, a hyperdrive, so to speak. In my opinion, it would need to consist of a drive that alters matter in some way, probably while the speed of light is exceeded. In the process, the spaceship is hurled into hyperspace, in which space and time are paralyzed, as you have already explained. Meaning that space and time collapse in a manner, whereby they are somehow completely nullified.
You would make a great scientist. This is really phenomenal, considering that most of your knowledge is based on autodidactic work. You are completely correct in your conclusions. To travel through deep space, one needs a drive that surpasses the speed of light many times over. This propulsion can only become activated, however, when the speed of light has already been reached. As a result, another drive is needed, in order to regulate the normal speed, up to that of light. This means then, that a spaceship needs at least two propulsion systems first, a normal drive which permits acceleration up to and below the speed of light, and second, a hyperdrive as you call it. A drive which generates a velocity 1,000,000 billion times that of light. The hyperspeed, which enables us to enter hyperspace. A space in which every mass expands, in proportion to the increase in speed. Consequently, time and space collapse, and they become null time and null space. That is to say, space and time simply cease to exist. And exactly by this manner, is created the fact that distances of countless light years can be traversed in a fraction of a second, without causing any lapse in time.
Does this mean then, that the same amount of time passes for a spaceship and its passengers, as it would on the home planet, or on some other planet or star?
Surely. For example, when we leave the Pleiades and require about 7 hours to get to Earth, then 7 hours pass on our own planet, and on Earth as well. It takes us this long, because we must first fly with the normal drive beyond the reach of our star system, and only then, far away in space, may we convert to hyperspeed. And a long way from the Sol system, we exit hyperspace, and convert to normal propulsion, as we continue to fly here. We are never allowed to penetrate hyperspace too close to a star system.
I understand. The penetration into hyperspace would likely draw one or more planets into hyperspace, and eject them as deadly projectiles when the spaceship breaks free from hyperspace. Maybe that is how various huge comets turn into storming and dangerous cosmic speedsters, through the fault of irresponsible deep space travelers?
You are partially correct. Actually, hyperspace may only be penetrated very far in space, otherwise, planets would be pulled in. Also, concerning the exit from hyperspace, you figured it out entirely correct. It is also a fact that some comets originated in this manner, but only very few, as most of them were guided on their dangerous path by other natural events. Therefore, in this case, you are only partly correct, when you concluded that all comets originated in this manner, as you perhaps suspected. The fact is, such events are caused by irresponsibility, and it exists throughout the universe, not only on Earth. Irresponsibility is evident also, when new highly developed people perform their first ventures into hyperspace, too close to a star system. The safe distance is calculable, and is approximately 153 million kilometers away from the nearest planet.
This is very interesting, however, I did not suspect that all comets resulted in the manner you mentioned. Yet how does such a hyperdrive work, and what about the normal drive?
I am not allowed to give you specifics on this, unfortunately. If scientists on Earth obtained more details, they would resolve their propulsion problems in a very short time. This is neither in our, nor the cosmic interest, because the people on Earth are still not knowledgeable or mature enough to fly into hyperspace. However, at the given time, which is not very far off, they will find the solution themselves. I am only permitted to tell you that many of your scientists are already on the right track, and are theoretically working at and researching the necessary propulsion systems. I may also tell you that in some basic form, these propulsion systems are already known in outline form to your scientific community, as light emission and tachyon drives. The light emission drive serves as normal propulsion, and has the function of propelling the spaceship onto a planet, or within their vicinity, up to the 153 million kilometer distance. The safe distance that is. Then the tachyon drive, among others, is activated, when vast distances need to be traversed. This is one of the hyperdrives, which are capable of conquering space and time through hyperspace. We call both of these propulsion systems by other names, however, the meaning is similar. We have a different language than people on Earth, and for this reason, I need to explain it to you, in terms you can comprehend.
That stands to reason, however, I do not understand how such a drive functions. I am familiar with the basics of light emission, and I know what tachyons are, however, I cannot imagine or guess their actual processes that results in propulsion. Can you tell me more about it?
No, I am not allowed to do so, because it would reveal the secret of the whole propulsion system, and the generation and harnessing of tachyons, along with the secret of the light emission drive.
Thank you, that will do, as I do not want to pressure you. However, one thing still interests me. As I assess and ponder it carefully, the shape of the spaceship plays no decisive role, and yet, a disc-like ship would be the ideal shape, because surely in the atmosphere, it offers the least aerodynamic resistance, which might also be the case in water.
Certainly, you have hit the nail on the head again. Basically, however, the form really makes no difference. Yet, the disc shape does ensures the least resistance in an atmosphere, and it offers the largest surface area, and the best shape to allow the drives on them, or through them, to become fully effective.
This seems clear to me, however, how is it possible for a spaceship to attain immense speeds within the gravity field of a planet, or in its atmosphere, without burning up, or having the passengers succumb to the immense pressure?
This is very easy to explain, and is no longer a secret to the people on Earth, at least not to some of the scientists. The spaceship is surrounded by a radiation protection shield that causes every little current of air to glide off, without the slightest pushing against it. The same thing also occurs in space, which simply swarms with inconspicuous particles. Therefore, this radiation protection shield has the purpose of protecting the spaceship against extraneous influences and resistance, without destroying or pushing against the spaceship. Anything that penetrates or offers resistance is simply deflected without pushing against it. Pushing against it would mean resistance and would remove the possibility of unlimited speed. Through the deflective quality of the radiation shield, this important effect is triggered, which is of great and vital importance to the passengers. However, the deflection technique of the radiation shield does not neutralize the gravitational force of a planet. Therefore, this means that gravity is not simply destroyed, pushed aside or nullified. The air, as well as some rays or particles and magnetism, etc., are simply deflected away. However, the planet's own normal gravitational and attraction forces prevail within the spaceship. Therefore, this means that a spaceship bears the exact same gravitational force on board, as also prevails on the planet. Also, the gravitational pull of a planet is not always equally intense, but undergoes a certain change, a fact scientists on Earth will discover in the near future. By gliding off the radiation protection shield, that is, the sliding off of charged particles, magnetism, etc., the spaceship becomes like a miniature independent planet, which can travel without risk through any atmosphere, very near the speed of light. Due to the fact that the gravity of a planet involved still has an influence on the spaceship, the passengers feel as normal and unhampered, as if they were on the planet, presuming, of course, that the planet corresponds with their anatomical capacities, and is not subject to greater gravitational forces. The attraction force inside the spaceship is then adjusted to suit the passengers, and is absolutely controllable in every way. When spaceship passengers of other star systems move about on foreign planets with a hostile atmosphere or hostile gravitational forces, they use spacesuits and small portable devices that generate for the people identical radiation protection shields and gravitational control as that on their own spaceship.
This is very detailed and illuminating. However, can you give me the technical details for the construction of such a device?
Unfortunately, I am not allowed to do that. However, I can assure you that your scientists are already working on the basics of such devices, and the day is not far when they will manufacture them. However, it lies in the framework of evolution that the people on Earth must first develop more in knowledge and comprehension before they will solve these secrets, and not use them simply to destroy themselves. But even then, the great danger exists that the barbaric people on Earth will use their technical knowledge, capabilities, and technical inventions to viciously and greedily satisfy their lust for power. This has happened before, and will happen again, not only with the people on Earth, but other men and women of various star systems as well. However, when the time comes that the people on Earth attain the required technology to fly, not only to the Earth's moon, but to other star systems as well, they should not do so carelessly, and with expectations of remaining victorious at all times. Many great dangers lurk in deep space of varying degrees, and other people of various star systems will not leave themselves helplessly vulnerable to an attack by someone else. Fatal defeats and total enslavement could be the result for the people on Earth, which would be equivalent to reverting back into primeval times. It is also quite possible that the planet Earth could be completely destroyed, because the technological prerequisites for this have been created, up to the last relative perfection, by numerous lineages of people throughout the universe. If the people on Earth want to carry their barbaric lust and greed for power into deep space, they must be prepared for their own total annihilation, and the fact that nobody from other star systems will rush to their aid. However, the people on Earth must also be prepared to defend themselves against malicious intruders, which they can only accomplish through a total unification of all nations on the Earth. The dangers from deep space are great, and lurk in all parts of the universe. Usually they are cruel, power-hungry men and women, who have no mercy, or only inferior or degenerate emotions. Others know well how to defend themselves, and out of necessity, they always do it radically. If a large-scale war were to shake deep space, entire galaxies could be destroyed. All it would take would be wars of a few star systems, which could then result in their own annihilation. Therefore, peace is always observed, and is implemented by any means necessary. The people on Earth must consider these things when they forge into deep space in the near future. Other lineages of people living in various star systems will not allow themselves to be senselessly attacked or forced into exile, enslavement or exploitation, as is usually the case among the people on Earth. They will defend themselves with great force, and for many millennia still, they will remain infinitely superior to all of the people on Earth's technology. However, if this is not the case, they are often under the protection of other, more highly developed men and women, whose technology has reached the last relative perfection.
Those are very nice prospects.
It is the only way to preserve peace, and to avoid death and destruction throughout entire galaxies of the universe. The people on Earth must be informed of all this, because their consciousness-related reasoning is still very underdeveloped. The people on Earth must get accustomed to the fact that their predecessors have forced the people on Earth and the planet they live on to the brink of ruin, and had to partially evacuate the planet in a wild escape. It should also serve as a warning to them that thirst for power and barbarism are always attributes that bring death and destruction. A second lineage of people have already experienced this fact within the Sol system. In their unlimited hatred and unquenchable thirst for power, they have destroyed themselves down to the last man and woman, and not a single living thing survived the conflict. They eliminated and destroyed their own planet with a huge explosion, and nothing remains of it, except many thousands of fragments, which today still orbits within the Sol system, and is a reminder of their deadly irrationality. The asteroid belt is the remnants of the once thriving planet Melona, which was destroyed by its inhabitants, due to their barbaric thirst for power.
Girl, this is very interesting. Do you know more of such things?
Certainly, however, this is quite enough for today. Next time you will hear more.